I really do not in the least believe in crime. There's no such thing as a crime as the word is generally understood. I do not believe that there is any sort of distinction between the real moral conditions of the people in and out of jail. One is just as good as the other. The people here can no more help being here than the people outside can avoid being outside. I do not believe that people are in jail because they deserve to be. They're in jail simply because they cannot avoid it on account of circumstances which are entirely beyond their control and for which they are in no way responsible. I think none of them ought to be here. There ought to be no jails. I'll say it again. There ought to be no jails. In one sense, everybody is equally good and equally bad. We all do the best under the circumstances. Let us see whether there is any connection between the crimes of the respectable classes and your presence in the jail. First and last, people are sent to jail because they are poor. No man in his right senses will go into a strange house in the dead of night and prowl around with a dark lantern through unfamiliar rooms and take chances of his life if he has plenty of the good things of the world in his own home. You would not take any chances such as that. You wouldn't. A man would not hold up another man on the street if he had plenty of money in his own pocket. He might do it if he had $1 or $2, but he wouldn't if he had as much money as Mr. Rockefeller has. The crime is born not because people are bad. There's one way to cure it. There's one way to cure all of these offenses, and that is to give the people a chance to live. If every man and woman and child in the world had a chance to make a decent, fair, honest living, there'd be no jails, there'd be no lawyers, there'd be no courts. And if you think about it, everybody making his living is making his living along the lines of least resistance. And again, people find all sorts of ways of getting rich. Getting rich, it's simply a disease. Nothing more and nothing less. You cannot avoid catching it. But the fellows who have control of the earth have the advantage of you. See, what the law is, when these men get control of things, they make the laws. They do not make the laws to protect anybody. Courts are not instruments of justice. When your case gets into court, it'll make really very little difference whether you are guilty or innocent. But it's better if you have a smart lawyer. And you cannot have a smart lawyer unless you have money. First and last, it's a question of money. Those men who own the earth make the laws to protect what they have. They fix up a sort of a fence or a pen around what they have, and they fix the law so the fellow on the outside cannot get in. The laws are organized for the protection of the men who rule the world. The laws are organized for the protection of the men who rule the world. They were never organized or enforced to do justice. We actually have no system for doing justice, not the slightest in the world. Let me illustrate. Take the poorest man in this room. If the community had provided a system of doing justice, the poorest person in this room would have as good a lawyer as the richest. Would he not? When you went into court, you would have just as long a trial and just a fair trial as the richest person in Chicago. Your case would not be tried in 15 minutes or 20 minutes, whereas it would take 15 days to get through with a rich man's case. If you're poor, it's a quick job. You're almost known to be guilty, else you would not be there, right? If the courts were organized, however, to promote justice, the people would elect somebody to defend all the criminals. Somebody as smart as the prosecutor, and give him as many detectives, as many assistants to help, and pay as much money to defend you as to prosecute you. People are sent to jail because they have committed a crime against property. This was fascinating to me. You must protect property, because in this world, property is more important than anything else. How is it done? These people who have property, they fix it so they can protect what they have. For instance, to take all the coal in the United States, and raise the price $2 or $3 when there's no need of it, and thus kill thousands of babies and send thousands of people to the poorhouse and tens of thousands to jail is done every year in the United States. This is a greater crime than all the people in our jails have ever committed. But the law doesn't punish it. Why? Well, because the fellows who control the earth make the laws. There's a remedy for the sort of condition we see here. You may pass a law punishing every person with death for burglary, but it won't make a difference. Men will commit burglary just the same. Hanging men in our county jails does not prevent murder. It makes murderers. And this has been the history of the world. It's easy to see how to do away with that wall. It's easy to see how to do away with what we call crime. It can be done by giving people a chance to live, by destroying special privileges. So long as men are allowed to monopolize all the earth and compel others to live on such terms as these men see fit to make, then you are bound to get into jail. The only way in the world to abolish crime and to abolish criminals is to abolish the big ones and the little ones together. Make fair conditions of life. Give men a chance to live. The only way to cure these conditions is by equality. There should be no jails. They do not accomplish what they pretend to accomplish. We should do away with jails because they do not accomplish what they pretend to accomplish. If you would wipe them out, there would be no more criminals than now. They terrorize nobody. They are a blot upon any civilization. And a jail is an evidence of the lack of charity of the people on the outside who make the jails and fill them. Come on in. And who fill them with the victims of their greed.